Well, hi, I want to welcome Jane Boulware to the Bold Broads interview. Jane, I'm so happy that you've agreed to say yes and share your bold story. I knew the moment we met that you were a bold woman who I really respected, and when I decided to do this, you are top of the list. So thrilled that you're here.
Thanks for inviting me, Lisa.
I'm thrilled, really happy that you're here. So let's just dive in. I would hope that maybe you can do a quick introduction for us.
I was born in rural Iowa and never quite got the hang of doing what was expected of me. So I didn't. And even though my dad laughed at me when I told him I was going to college, I went anyway, and have really spent my entire life trying to both create and use my own yardstick for success. And by all measures, I've been successful. I've exceeded expectations and exceeded the odds. And I've been, because of the bold decisions I've made, I've gone from the cornfields of rural Iowa to the corner office of Microsoft. I've been an executive, a wife, a mother, and a good friend. And I think through my life and my life's decisions, I've proven that an ordinary person can have an extraordinary life if you have a little bit of courage, a little bit of resilience, and that anybody can be from anything and have everything.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
And my own observation, Jane, is the missing ingredient that you didn't say is a lot of giving. You're one of the more giving people. We've just recently become friends, but I see in every interaction with you, the giving and the airspace that you give to other women is really, I'm sure, a key ingredient to your success, at least from my observation. So
well, thank you. I believe really strongly in lifting other people up. It's so seldom that people get to see themselves, a mirror put before them, so they see how incredible that they are. And when that happens, you just see people become even better versions of themselves. And I love selfishly to see that happen and be a part of that happening.
Isn't that great? So, Jane, what do you think makes someone bold?
Well, I think it's not a lack of doubt or fear, that's for sure. And I also think that being bold isn't about what you wear. It's not about how you talk, because I've seen some really incredibly bold women who speak quietly and whose actions sometimes speak louder than words, and are incredibly bold and courageous and resilient in what they do. I think being bold is not being afraid of being afraid. And being bold means you don't have to have all the answers. And once you get comfortable being afraid and not feeling like you have to have all the answers, then you get to be bold in looking for the best in other people. You get to be bold and fearless in seeking out what makes other people great and elevating that, because you realize that when that happens, it doesn't diminish who you are, it makes you better as well. And to me, that's what being bold is finding and amplifying the best in other people and the best in what's around you. That's what I love to do.
I love that. There's so many nuggets there. Not to be afraid of being afraid. I love that concept, that fear is something to be welcomed so that you can step into amplifying others. Beautiful, beautiful. So you talked a little bit about this, but what do you think makes you bold?
Well, I've gotten pretty comfortable with being afraid. I would say that I am not afraid to be afraid, and that I act despite my fear. I am comfortable being uncomfortable, or have put myself in situations where I jump off a cliff even though I'm uncomfortable, or even though I'm afraid. I stopped looking to have, I stopped waiting to be right, and started worrying less about being right, and started thinking and worrying more about doing what's right. And when I shift my focus from me to others, and what others need, and what needs to happen, or what the right thing is to happen, it gave me the courage to take the steps and to be a little bit more bold, because it wasn't about me anymore. It just wasn't about me. It was about what needed to be done, who needed to be lifted, what needed to be moved forward, and how we were going to achieve together. Because at the end of the day, it's really not about you or me, it's about us. And when I changed that perspective, it took a lot of the fear away and enabled me to make some enabled me to act in a way that others would consider bold, even though I knew on the inside I was pretty scared oftentimes.
What a compelling way to motivate yourself to move forward too, when you think about sort of the obligation to do what's right, rather than waiting until you feel like you're 100% correct. Was really the sense of you got to move because you got to do what's the right thing to do. That's spectacular. So what is the boldest thing you've ever done?
From a professional perspective, it seems like I always got the jobs that nobody else wanted, or I sought the jobs nobody else wanted. So it's funny because I often wasn't the first to get offered a job, but I was always the last because I almost always said yes. I would say the boldest job that I took was when I was 31 years old and I was offered a job working for our Latin American operations. Now keep in mind, I lived in Wisconsin. I was I was a white woman, blonde, didn't speak a speck of Spanish, had a 1.5-year-old child, had a husband that had a great job and would have to move so that I could literally commute every week to South America. So I would leave from Atlanta where we moved to, and I would land in Bogota or Sao Paulo or Buenos Aires or someplace like that. And by the way, they put me in charge of a business I had never been on before. I didn't think I was qualified, but those around me had faith in me. And at the end of the day, I said yes, thinking if I fail, then something else will happen. And that was probably, looking back, one of the boldest moves that I made. And maybe perhaps one of the most dangerous, because I've got great stories from them.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I often call that with my coaching clients a sacred yes. It's like you're saying yes to something that just becomes such a sacred, like faith. It's about faith, right? About faith that you can do it, and faith that the people who believe in you wouldn't give you the opportunity if they didn't have the conviction that you were going to succeed. That's spectacular.
And like I said, I like to push myself and be uncomfortable. And if I get too comfortable, I often get bored and I'll look left to right and say, what else can I do? But I'll tell you, I never got bored in that job. That's for certain.
That's
and then
awesome.
I would say personally, the boldest thing I did from a personal perspective is I've been married 35 years to a man that I gave my heart and my life to. And I swore I would never get married. So thankfully, he asked an awful lot, often for, will you marry me, before I said yes. But it was bold because I think through your life, you have to make commitment after commitment after commitment. You have to recommit. And that's a boldness that people often don't think about. They don't think about their personal life choices necessarily as something that you are choosing that's bold, that's probably scary. And if you are really in a relationship, whether it's a marriage or something else, and you're giving it your all, that's acting fearlessly, and that's bold. So you may or may not agree, but
I love it.
More than you wanted to know.
I know. I would like, bring it on. I love it. I love it. So what do you think is the boldest thing that something you want to do but you haven't done yet?
I think you know this. I promised when I quote retired that I would write down the stories of my life from when I was a little kid doing crazy things, and some of the adventures, and very honestly, the things that make you laugh, the things that make you cry in my career and in my life. And I've done that. And I'm in the process of figuring out how to get it published and how to do the website and how to do the blogs. And that's all foreign to me. And I don't know any of that. It's kind of scary. And the hard part for me is that usually people come to me for advice or come to me and say, will you help me? And I'm now in a position where I have to do that. And it's a lot easier to say yes to someone else than to ask the question. And so I'm being bold by saying, will you help me? I don't know how to do this. Will you please help me? And you've been one of the people that have reached out to me and said, yes, I'll help you. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. I'm learning as well. It's funny because that whole world is like kindergarten. You don't know what questions to ask, and every day you're learning something new. We've got to be in this together as women who are navigating that new world, coming from different disciplines.
Well, and then there's that part of me that says, well, who am I? Like, who cares about my story? But I'm going to put it out there, and if it helps anybody, because I found so many people, especially women, think they're the only ones that feel like they're afraid or they're nervous or they don't know how to do something, because we're all kind of hard on ourselves. And oftentimes the people that haven't yet achieved feel like they aren't good enough. And the people, oftentimes the women that have achieved, think they've been lucky and don't give themselves credit. So the stories that I am putting out there will hopefully people can identify and say, I feel that way too. I get it. And that's why I'm doing it.
I love that too. And you know, it's so interesting because so often we see women who are successful and we forget that there's a story behind the success.
Lots
And
of them.
so there are lots of stories behind the success. And I think the more you can sort of lower that waterline and let people see what that is, the more that they'll relate to it and it'll help empower them. Will help you with that mission of lifting others up, for sure.
Awesome.
So what advice would you have for someone who wants to be bold?
I would say don't wait. Act despite the fear. If you wait until you think you're certain, or you wait until you think you have all the answers, you've waited too long. I think all of us have been given gifts, and I think all of us have areas that we can contribute in this world, and that we now more than ever, we need to share our gifts. We need to be bold and leaning in and leaning forward, and that when you wait and you don't share the gifts that you have, it's about you. You make it about you and your fear. And the reality is, we need to just put ourselves out there and we need to make it happen. And you're going to make mistakes, and that's part of life. That's okay. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait till you really have all the answers. You know, I used to get nervous when I gave public speaking until I shifted my perspective and I said, it's not about what I have to say. It's about what others need to hear, or what information I have that they can, you know, that they might want to hear. And again, if you want to be bold, just do it. Act as best you can. And like I said, don't wait, because the world needs your message, your strengths, your gifts, your contributions. Now is the time.
So beautiful. It's really thinking about boldness as an act of service and a way to really serve others and serve the world. So, super special. So, Jane, if people are inspired by this and want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Send me an email or get a hold of me via LinkedIn. I'm Jane Boulware. I'm Jane at JBoulware.com if you want to shoot me a note. And hopefully one of these days soon, I'll have a book. The working title is Worthy, because it's a story about how someone that felt quite unworthy found her worthiness through the years. But you shot me a note. I'd love to hear from people. I really would. So the book that I've put together, the stories that I put together, I've called it, the working title is Worthy, because it's the story of a little kid that in essence felt unworthy. And it's a story how through my life, I found my worthiness. And I found the good that I could share with other people and feeling good about myself. And it's that story that anyone can relate to, because I think that's a struggle, a universal struggle that we all have. And so you can reach me at Jane at JBoulware.com, and you can reach me at LinkedIn, and hopefully through my book called Worthy.
Great. I will put both of those. I'll put both of those in the notes for this. So if anybody missed it as they're listening, they can click in that as well. Jane, I can't thank you enough. As always, you're inspiring, and to be able to get it on video and share it with other bold women is just such a gift. So thank you so much for your time and for being a part of this.
Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And I was a little nervous about doing this, and you make it so easy. So thank you.
Wow, it's such great, wonderful content. So thrilled. So thrilled. Thanks, Jane.
You betcha. Take care, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Bye.